Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar. My name is Will Fowler, and I am the Associate State Director for Operations for the Idaho Small Business Development Center. This webinar is on government contracting. It's called, Is Government Contracting Right for You? So if this is the webinar that you intended to see, you are in the right place. We have really great content for you today, and it's all about discovering what government contracting is, if you haven't before, and talking about some of the things to consider in order to decide if you want to go after government contracting as an additional revenue stream for your business. A few things before we get into the webinar that you should know is that this is a webinar function, so you cannot unmute yourself and ask questions, but you can use the Q&A button to ask questions. So if you open up that box, there should be a button at the bottom of your screen that says Q&A. I suggest that you open that up because you'll be able to see other questions as well. So if you have questions, and we want lots and lots of questions, if you have a question that you are curious about, there are no dumb questions. So just ask it, and we will have a session at the end where we just answer questions. You don't have to wait to the end to ask the question. You can ask it anytime, but we will save the questions until after the presentation and go through those one by one until we answer as many as possible. The other thing is, I suggest that you open up the chat box. So at the bottom of your screen, there's also a chat button. If you open up that, you can see what people are saying to each other. So if you're attending this webinar, you can chat, you can share ideas, you can talk to each other. If you ask a question in the chat, we will chat into you and ask you to put it in the Q&A. So we won't be looking at the chat for questions. We're just going to use the Q&A for that. But there's a lot of really interesting information that comes through there. And a lot of times we've crowdsourced information from the chat. We'd say like, hey, does anybody have this? And if you're looking at the chat and participating, you can get some really good information that way. So I'm not going to take up any more time because the next 20 or 30 minutes is going to be a presentation from Lori Manning. Lori is the director for the Idaho PTAC. And PTAC is Procurement Technical Assistance Center. What that means is that PTAC helps businesses in Idaho with the government contracting process. And the Idaho PTAC, since Lori has taken over, has grown leaps and bounds. They've helped Idaho companies win hundreds of millions of dollars in government contracting and worked with hundreds of companies across the state. So we're really pleased that Lori is doing this presentation. And without further ado, I'm just going to pass it over to her.
Thank you, Will. I'm going to screen share and get us set up here. Go. Give me just a second and we'll get you started. There we go. All right, can everybody see the slides? Perfect.
Lori, I cannot see the slides.
You cannot see the slides.
I just see you, which is, I love looking at you, but I cannot see the slides.
Well, I'm glad to know that. Let me end the show and let's try this again. It worked in practice, so you know, it's one of those things that you just never know if the wrong button's bumped. All right. Let's try screen share. There we go. Is that showing?
You can see it.
Okay, let's get us started then. Maybe. And play from the start. Sorry guys, little technical difficulties, but we will get it pulled together. And that's what government contracting is flexibility or not any flexibility. My name is Lori Manning. I am the State Director for Idaho PTAC. I'm glad to be a part of this conference or webinar today. Thank you, Will and Jessica, for inviting me to be here. PTAC, as Will informed you, stands for Procurement Technical Assistance Center. When I joined the PTAC a little over a year ago, I have to tell you, the hardest part for me was learning all the crazy acronyms. I mean, everything in government is about acronyms. And some of them become words like PTAC, or some of them are actually DOD, and so that doesn't say dud. But it has been a challenge to learn that. So as I go throughout this presentation, I'm going to work really hard to make sure that I give it as a rookie would receive it, because I have been a rookie. I've been there less than a year ago. So what does procurement actually mean? Most of you probably know that, but it simply means to obtain. So you're attempting to obtain a government contract or make the U.S. government your customer. We're affiliated with the Small Business Development Center and Boise State University and funded by a grant through the Department of Defense, or DoD. So we're a resource partner with also the Small Business Administration, and we do a lot of things in support that deals directly with government contracting. So the reason PTAC really exists is the DoD spends the majority of the dollars in federal procurement in America. And they wanted to make sure that there was a support system for small businesses to be able to go out and compete with the big dogs, so to speak. So by funding PTACs across America, they could offer free service, free technical service for businesses that want to go after those contract awards. All right, with that being said, we're going to get you started. So is there a place for you in government contracting? Well, honestly, that's going to depend on you. See, the world's biggest buyer of goods and services is the federal government. They buy nearly $400 billion a year in federal contracts, and about a quarter of that, 23% specifically, is set aside for small business. That's $100 billion, guys, that your companies could be getting a piece of the pie in yearly for contracts. These contracts exist for everything imaginable, from paper clips to armored tanks. So how do you know if they're looking for something that you make or even do? Well, here's the best part. It's already been determined by your NAICS code. See, your NAICS code, when you filed your IRS paperwork for your business and you got your EIN, you put an industry code on your form. And it is typically what service is your main service that you provide. And so that becomes your NAICS code, or North American Industry Classification System code. We call it NAICS for short. Basically, it's used to classify what you do. And your NAICS code can also determine if you're like a manufacturing company, then your standard for being a small business is based on employees. If their industry is retail or services, then your size standard would be based on revenue. So that's to determine if you're a small business or a big business. So when you're talking about NAICS codes and going out to try to find what we call solicitations, and that's the request for bids from the government, you would simply say, my company, let's say pours concrete, or I'm in the construction industry. Your NAICS code that says you pour concrete would help you find or resource that contract pretty quickly. And so that's how things are found in government contracting, is through your industry codes. So I think the real question is, can I do government contracting? Is it right for your business or even for you? And what does the federal government actually buy anyway? And so I love that, because this slide really indicates exactly what they buy. Everything. If you make it, move it, manage it, or motivate it, then the U.S. government, state, or local agencies need it. So a good example of this is if you go into a military base, they have commissaries, very similar to like a Walmart or a Target, and they provide all those resources for the communities. Every one of those products are sourced. They're sourced through contracts. So governments need sales, they need services, they need these products to do their job. They've got to run their military bases, they need to be able to run their military organizations. And so the government buys everything, just like your company would buy something to make your business work. The same happens for the American government. So I have a question. In the chat box to your right there, guys, if you will type for me what your business sells or maybe serves, creates, or transports. Put that in that chat box right now. So if you are a paving company, put paving or asphalt or construction. And Will, if you don't mind, could you read to us some of the things that are coming in that are being done by our local businesses?
Absolutely. Amanda Miller says building, contracting, cleaning, janitorial. So building maintenance.
Okay.
Biotech and technology, graphic design, user interface design and illustration, engineering, infrared thermal scanning devices, heavy machinery, wireless network services, construction tools. Now it's coming in so fast. Telecommunication services, small hay straw bales, educational services, architectural and structural steel, vehicle uplifting, audio visual integration. I could keep going. These are all sound like
Yeah.
really interesting
And
businesses.
Will, my point to that exactly is every single one of those items is sourced and requested by the US government from small businesses. So every one of you that is putting something in that box, every one of those things that I heard, I could tell you right now, we could probably find you contracts immediately today. And it's pretty amazing if you think about it. Remember, $100 billion is set aside for a small business. Your size company has a chance to get a piece of that pie. That lets you compete with the big dogs, so to speak. All right, there we go. So how do you get started? How do you know where to find solicitations? You have to market your company and contracting officers. And then how long does it take to get your first contract? Let me talk about the first two, and then I'll give you a short story about the third one there. So finding your source sought solicitations. So the Idaho PTAC, we've really tried to simplify this process for you. You are welcome to go and look through thousands, and when I say thousands, I mean over 3,000, lots and lots of websites to look at all the agencies and all the requests and the bids, but that would take hours, and you already know as a business owner, you wear 25 million hats, which is a slight exaggeration, but not really, and you stay extremely busy. Who has time to sort all of that? So the Idaho PTAC has what we call a bid match service. And basically, we help you find the solicitation that matches your NAICS code, which is why I talked about the NAICS code a minute ago. And so whatever industry you are registered to work in, you are allowed to service and do contracts. But here's the best part. You don't have to just stay in that one industry. If your business is capable of managing other things, you're allowed to seek contracts in these other areas too. So we offer a free bid match service. And right now during the pandemic, we're not charging businesses to get this service. After we get through all of this, we will charge $99 for this free service that will send literally between, some days none, some days 10 possible contract matches to your inbox that hit your keywords, your business match, and your NAICS code that would qualify you to select and try to put a solicitation out, a bid out. So this is really worth signing up. If you go to the idahoptac.org, you can sign up and become part of our bid match program and help us help you, so that this will save you lots of valuable time. So that's the first thing, is you got to be able to find the solicitations, and this sends it right to your mailbox, your email. The second thing is you've got to have marketing strategies. When you are trying to get your business out there to a contractor, you've got to create what we call a business calling card, or I call it a business resume, and our official term is the capability statement. So basically, it's like a one-page resume with references and various things on it that describe what you're capable of doing as a company. Once you know what the government needs, you can put that capability statement to target exactly what that is, and it'll catch the attention of those officers. So you want to present your capability statement to the federal contractors and even large primes that buy your products and services. And I'm going to stop right there and explain what a large prime is. So oftentimes, as a small business, you might not be able to have an entire $2 or $3 million contract, but you're capable of doing, let's say, $250,000 worth of work within that contract. Your company would be very specialized to manage that. So you could approach that large prime that won that $2 or $3 million contract and say, hey, let me pour the sidewalk, let me lay the sod, and whatever it is that you do, you do. And that's where your capability statement could help sell your service to that large prime. It's a great place to start with government contracting. It's a great place to build up your revenue sources as they come into your business. It's just a tremendous place to start and get your feet dipped into government contracting. So other marketing strategies are to attend procurement conferences, business expos, and business matchmaking events. We offer these in the state of Idaho. They're offered around. We have several coming up in October, and our staff will be happy to send emails out to give you information about that. but these events allow you to actually meet contracting officers and hear what they say they need, so you can tailor that capability statement to what they want. Another thing is we want you to be able to add detail, if you will, or more keywords or information to your SAM and DSBS profiles. So the DSBS, here's one of those acronyms, the Dynamic Small Business Search is what that is. Basically, the yellow pages. And if you're younger than me, you probably don't remember the yellow pages. Those of you who are my age and older, you know about the yellow pages, and you know the alphabetical order and the importance of naming your business in the front and not the back. So the Dynamic Small Search Business, this is a valuable tool because the contractors use it if they want something specific, and they go through and they are looking for companies that can meet their needs. So it's very important to make sure that that is kept up to date, that it carries all of the things that you are capable of providing. Also, you've got to be willing to sometimes go directly to and make a presentation to a contracting officer. Be willing to go and talk with them face to face, and when we get out of COVID, shake their hand and let them know who you are. They're people too, and they want to know the local businesses. All right, so here's where Idaho PTAC can best help your company. So we provide a no-cost service to Idaho businesses. And one of the things that I think that is really cool is that when you're first starting out as a rookie, which I have been and I still am, you don't really know all the rules. You just know that you can do it. You can meet that contract or that obligation, but you don't necessarily know the procurement procedures or the FAR, which stands for the Federal Acquisition Regulations. So that is where you can rely on your PTAC. We have very qualified individuals. Both Bam Omatoa and Lee Velton are tremendous individuals for counseling that know these procedures up and down. We help you develop your bid notification profile. Basically, that's saying we help you figure out what you want to put out there and what you want to do. We can never tell you how much to bid, but we can certainly get you as much information to let you make a quality bid. Review your bids, your proposals. We will give you this daily custom email that comes in that helps you find the right match. You've got to be registered in DUNS and SAM. These are very vital. It's important that you stay up to date with that. You can't even bid on contracts without these particular things done. We offer statewide workshops at PTAC. The training you're in today is a really good example of what we try to do to help educate you, to prepare you to be able to do federal contracting. We have templates for capability statements. So if you want a resume template or want to see some or how they look, to be able to get a jumping off point, if you will, then we can help you with that. And we're happy to look them over and say, hey, you need more keywords or you need to add some more references. And we help you with your marketing strategy, because just like you market now to the regular general consumer, you have to be willing to market to the federal contracting world. So coming soon to a theater near you, the federal cybersecurity requirements. Wow, everybody's buzzing about the CMMC requirements that are going to be coming. And these things have not yet started, but they are literally around the corner. In fact, we have a training on that coming up tomorrow. You can hit our website on our homepage and get a link to be able to hear some of that information for the upcoming new cybersecurity requirements that are going to be implemented nationwide. And remember, the DoD, Department of Defense, who does the majority of the contractual output, they are the ones that are requiring you to have this CMMC if you want to do business with them. So all of these things are important. One of the most valuable things we help you with is finding resources as a business owner. I can tell you on this call today with the SBDC, Will Fowler, and all of your region directors and all of the counselors that are throughout the SBDC, they are your biggest ally for helping your business grow. Reach out to that local SBDC person. They can grow your finances. They can grow your marketing plan for commercialization. You need to be using them so that you are a solid company when you try to tackle working for the federal government. All right, so let's recap a little bit. The government buys $400 billion yearly from industries. That is $100 billion, 25% of it is set aside for small business. That, I'll just take a small piece of that pie. I don't know about you guys, but that would be awesome and could really affect the way your business runs today. Obtaining a government contract is hard work, but it's also a rewarding revenue. And guys, here's the best part. If you do work and do what the contract said and you finish it, you are guaranteed payment. I don't know about you, but I have run several companies where I have done the work. I've invoiced out net 30, net 60. I'm still waiting 120, 180 days. And some of you know what I'm talking about. You never get paid for the work that you did. That doesn't happen with the US government. If you do the work and you meet the contract specifications, you are guaranteed pay. The Idaho PTAC and the SBDC will walk you hand in hand through the process, teaching you to become both a government contractor and a better business operator. This means that we won't do it for you, but we're going to give you support. You can lean on us, you can ask questions, and obviously it'll always be your decision on how you want to go. So remember, the government purchases anything that you make, move, manage, or motivate, and you can't go wrong. So I'd like to ask some hard questions. Is government contracting right for your business? So here's the real deal. It is not for the faint of heart. If you think that you can do government contracting starting tomorrow, you got another thought coming. I would like to be positive and say you could do it by tomorrow, but you can start the process tomorrow. It does take a little bit of time, and it takes a very tenacious heart. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. And if you can answer yes to these, then you probably would be very good at government contracting. So, can you dedicate your time or an employee's time to writing solicitations? Okay, so let's be really real. If you've had someone call your office and they want you to come out and bid a project and you haven't had time to get out there and you can't write that bid up and you can't get somebody else out there to write that bid up, then most likely government contracting is not for you. Because you've got to be able to go and write that solicitation and do everything in the research necessary, because there's no room for error. When you send it to the government, what you say you'll do is what you will do. Can you meet your deadlines and timelines currently? So how are you working with your customers now? Are you meeting those deadlines? Are you ahead of your deadline? Are they happy with what you're providing with your timelines? If the answer to that is yes, that's a good thing. Is your company highly rated right now? What's your rating on Yelp, Google, Bing? I don't know. I mean, if you've got a 4.2, if you've got a 4.6, these are good ratings, and these ratings will help you and give you background to get a government contract and begin to build ratings with the government. Just like you get ratings in the commercial world, you are rated in the federal contracting world, and you want those ratings to be as high as possible. If you're a little bit low right now and you're in those 3s, work really hard with your SBDC and see if you can get those ratings up, because that will help you get a prime contract, or work for a prime, or even possibly get a smaller government contract to prove yourself. Can you network your company or self-promote? Honestly, I think everybody should be able to say yes on this. If you own your own business, we already know you self-promote, or you would not be successful and be here today. So your ability to be willing to network your company. I'm going to expand on this a little bit and say one of the things that is brand new is with these contracts. Let's say you pour sidewalks and you need somebody who does sod, and you see a contract that comes out that they want an entire area done. And I'm using this just because it's an easy example. Then if you can go find a sod person and you can take care of the concrete work, you could join together and be able to pick up a larger contract for the government. So there's opportunities. If you're willing to network and use the resources around your network, you could certainly do more with your ability to work for the federal government. Are you willing to work hard and fail multiple times to reach success? This is a tough one. Some people don't like failure. Some people don't like to be told no. So if you can't be told no, or you're not willing to do it multiple times to get it right, government contract might not be for you. So think about that. Are you tenacious? Do you need a new guaranteed revenue stream? You know, we're in COVID right now. Everybody needs to pivot. We're all just trying to survive. My question is, how hungry are you? Are you willing to do what it takes to get a new revenue stream? Because government contracting won't make you rich, but it will certainly pay your company's bills and keep the doors open and keep your employees paying, and it'll grow you. Again, it won't make you rich, but it will certainly grow you and give you an opportunity to let you do the very things you desire to do. So if you answered yes to these questions, then government contracting is right for you. I want to really encourage each of you to reach out to the Idaho PTAC. I'm the program director for the state. Lee Velton is very knowledgeable. He's been in government contracting more than 12 years. And Lee is in the Boise, Twin Falls. He covers the Lewiston and the Coeur d'Alene areas. So if you're in those areas, grab his email, Lee Velton at boisestate.edu, and you see the phone number there, and reach out to him. Let him help you get started. Lee is tremendous. Bam is also very, very good. Bam's been with the Idaho PTAC about 18 months, maybe almost 2 years now. And Bam is in the eastern part of the state. He covers the Idaho Falls, Pocatello, and all those northern areas towards the mountains. And so Bam is happy to help you. If you're in that eastern area, reach out to Bam. It's Bamadeli Omatoa at boisestate.edu, and give him a call. Our folks will be happy to serve you. We're happy to make a difference for you. And we certainly want you to reach out and try government contracting if you believe it would be a fit for you. So Will, I'm going to, with that, bring it back to you.
Great. We have some great questions coming in here. The first thing I wanted to mention is, I think Ann Swanson chatted in that the Pocatello office has a graphic design specialist. So when you're working on your capability statement, there may be some additional assistance you can get from the Pocatello SBDC office to help make it look great as well as read great. So I just wanted to throw that in there because that was in the chat. And we have about 11 questions right now. So if you have a question you've been thinking about and you haven't asked it, now's the time. We're going to spend the next 20 or 30 minutes going through these questions. So the first one is, does the company need to be headquartered in Idaho, or can a foreign company register in Idaho and secure contracts? By foreign, this person means like just not from Idaho, like Delaware or
Sure.
Wyoming.
Yeah, the answer is yes, absolutely. Every state has the ability to seek contracts and service for the federal government. So you would want to register for the PTAC to be able to get the bid matching services. Typically, we have you register in the state with our state if you're doing work within the state. If you want to do local government, agency type things here, you're going to want to be registered in our state to be able to do that. That'll be an important aspect.
Great. There's another 2 questions here, or maybe even more, but at least 2 on capability statements. So here's one that says, I completed my SAM registration right before COVID hit. I'm at the capability statement phase. Will you be offering any classes on how to approach the capability statement? Before you answer that, Lori, the next question right under this one is, is there any kind of other assistance? Like, do you give one-on-one assistance for capability statements as well?
Absolutely. I'm so glad you asked this, guys. Christy, I think, yes, the answer to your question is yes. As a matter of fact, I think Lee just did a capability statement training. I know that he has that program set up, and it'll be something that'll be coming very soon. You can always reach out to Lee or BAM, depending on what part of the state that you're in, and they will be happy to help you. They'll offer you some templates and get you started. And as far as being one-on-one and helping, we absolutely want to help you. So you reach out to us, we're going to help you. If we have a course or we have a class that's coming, we'll highly encourage you to get involved in that.
For educational services, my initial service is to meet with a school and find their needs to improve interactions and services and career development. My service starts with consulting at a flat fee, knowing the schools and data as weak areas. Would I go to the PTAC first or get introduced to a school district or go to a school directly? So this is somebody who's looking to pick up contracts from schools. How would they, where do they start, Lori?
So, you know, that's an interesting question, Julie. You're going to want to start directly with school boards and go in with schools. Each school board has its own autonomy to be able to respond. If you're wanting to go through the Department of Education, then you could search and go directly to them as well. You're welcome to be registered with the PTAC and receive bid matches that would offer needs in schools, but I have found the most success for helping schools is to actually reach out to the administrators, reach out to the board chair, and determine if they are needing something specifically.
So could you remind us what CMCC is? This question is, CMCC is applicable to all vendors, not just primes, correct? But I don't remember what that acronym is.
Okay, that's a good question. And Spencer, I'm going to defer and ask that Lee Belton, I know he's in the audience out there. Lee, can you chat that in for us, please, for the acronym for CMMC, because that's Lee's specialty. I will tell you, yes, it does apply to not just primes, but any vendor that works with a prime that has a contract, the prime has a contract with DOD. So if it is working through the DOD system, then you will need to make sure that you are actually meeting the qualifications of a level 1 or a level 3, depending on what your prime indicates you need to have. And we have a very great training on that tomorrow, Spencer, so you might want to check it out. It is a free training in honor of our National PTAC Day tomorrow, and it is about CMMC, the requirements, and what will be coming for that.
And that training, I believe, is at 9 a.m. from 9 to 11 tomorrow. Is that right?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, good. Okay, so what if you're new? So if you're a new company and you don't have ratings, how do you get into government contracting if you don't have like established ratings, you haven't been around for a while?
It's a good question. I think that is the hardest thing. It's important that you begin to develop relationships commercially. So if you can get your product out and get some ratings commercially, you're going to need some of those references, if you will, to help you be able to break into the government contracting world. If you have a unique product or a unique service, those things can sometimes pass on by having ratings in the commercial world and can be directly taken in and snatched up, if you will, by the government contracting, but they're few and far between. So realistically, you're going to need to establish a couple of services or references here and now, and then you'll be able to go right on into government contracting. A good general rule of thumb, they say, is you want to be an established business for 1 to 2 years, showing that you're making money with what it is that you're trying to do.
Great. And you mentioned bid matching and you mentioned IdahoPTAC.org. We chatted that in and put it in the answer section as well. So IdahoPTAC.org, how do you go about registering for the bid match service that you mentioned?
That's great. If you sign up, once you've signed in, it's going to have you put in keywords, your DUNS numbers, and all of this information. If you don't have all of that information, it's okay. Just get started on your application, and then our counselors, who are very sharp, will help you create the rest of your profile to get you set up so that your bid match comes to you on a daily basis. Some days you get some days you only get 1 or 2, and I've seen some come through at 10 or 12 in a day. So you're going to definitely want to use those keywords and your NAICS codes to be able to get as many possibilities that match you.
All right. Are there events or opportunities to meet with primes and negotiate deals?
Yes, there are, Spencer. In fact, these are happening all over America right now. Lee Belton went to one that was with the Navy out of California just a few weeks ago. And I say we went by Zoom. Isn't that fun? We just finished the OSDBU small business one out of what was supposed to be in Dallas, and it was virtual. We have one coming with the Bureau of Investigation, maybe. It's October 6th. We have one coming that we're helping. It's on our website, or will be on our website shortly, and one on October 9th. So we have two absolute events coming that are where you could have a chance to meet primes and actually meet contractors.
Great. I was just typing in the registration link for the training tomorrow. That's been asked for a couple times. So I put it in the chat, and somebody had a question in, so everybody knows it is a Zoom registration link, and it should be in there for you. Yeah. Okay. Can you buy equipment and supplies, grow your business? What if you need employees right now, hiring vets? So I'm not sure the nature of this question. I think maybe they're asking about use of funds. Like, are there any restrictions? Like, if you have a government contract and you're getting revenue in, do they put any stipulations on how you can use that revenue or what you can spend on for your business?
No. The biggest thing is you have to service the contracts. So, you know, if you're a veteran-owned company, there's even more opportunity for you. If you're a women-owned business, there's more opportunity. So remember how I talked about 25% or 23% is set aside for small business? Well, on top of that, they set aside, you know, extra for if you're a veteran-owned, if you're a women-owned, if you are in what we call a hub zone, and you can contact us and we'll talk more to you about that. But basically, the money that if you commit to doing something, the money they pay you is basically so that you can afford to do what you're committing to do. And so it's payment. You can use it for any way. It's revenue. You can use it for any sourcing you need. It's not like a grant where it's only used for certain supplies or certain stipulations. It is actually revenue.
Great. So is it recommended to be certified as an 8A small business? Will that help you get government contracts?
It does. Jeremy, you cannot go wrong. If you have already started the process, once you get your registration for 8A, they have set-asides for 8As that allow you to work with both primes and government contracting. Here's the catch. You want to be ready to go and maybe even have done one or two contracts before you get your 8A certification, because the day you get your 8A certification, you're tracking time, so to speak. You only get so many years as an 8A company, and it allows you to grow your business large enough and gain a reputation that 8A status will literally drive you into a large business. And so it's really important. It's like using every inch of that year, those 8 years or whatever it is that when you're in 8A, and you don't want to waste it by getting your 8A certification and not even having done a contract yet. And all of a sudden 2 or 3 years have passed and you've lost the ability to have all of that advantage.
That sounds like an excellent topic to discuss during a one-on-one session with a PTAC consultant, just because it sounds like there are some nuances there. So my question is, how much time do your consultants typically spend consulting with businesses who are looking to government contract?
You know, I will tell you, Lee and Bam are amazing. They spend as much time as you need. It's pretty amazing. I mean, our counseling hours for last year went from 873 or so to over nearly 2,000 hours this last year. So these gentlemen will do whatever is necessary to help you be successful. You need to reach out to them and let them walk you through the nuances and get you started.
Awesome. I have a question here, and I don't quite understand it, so I'm going to ask it, and I'm going to hope that you can interpret it. I'm currently a sub for a company that already has a government contract with BLM. Will this help in getting me started with government contract? Will this help me get a DUNS or a SAM quicker? I'm confused because it sounds like they have a government contract through a prime, but they don't have a DUNS or a SAM.
They're acting as a subprime or an independent contractor is what they're stating. And they want to become the prime. They want to have their own contract and hold it. So you need to reach out immediately to Lee or to BAM and go ahead and get your DUNS and SAM in place. Make sure your keywords are good so that you can begin to bid on your own contracts. Anytime you work for a prime or a sub like that, they can give you a good recommendation. And that is how you begin your reputation. It's like a credit score, if you will. You really want that score to be high.
So if you're working as an independent contractor for somebody who has a government contract or a government contract who is a prime, then you should be actively soliciting them for a good recommendation at the end
Right.
of your experience, because that will help you get a government contract.
That's right, Will. I mean, you can't go wrong with doing it that way, because if you do that, then you have begun to build your reputation. And if that prime has a good reputation, it's like referrals. You and I both know that we would take someone's word that so-and-so is a good mechanic over just a general mechanic. If we know that this person's done well for somebody else, I'm willing to risk that. And that's exactly how a government contractor thinks too.
Great. So somebody is asking for the phone number. I'm just putting in the contact page on the website that people can go to. So click on that and you'll see the numbers for the consultants, and I believe for the main office as well. And that is idahoptac.org/PTAC counselors. Okay, a couple more questions. Does the government need services such as property management for short and long-term rentals?
They do. And this is actually a huge need, especially when they have hurricane seasons or they have fire season and they're trying to manage all of this stuff. There is a lot of need for that. There's also a need for providing temporary housing. So all of those things are very important and vital. There's real estate all over the place. And then you've got the whole entire industry of HUD housing and all of these other items that are out there too.
Wow. Last question that's up here for now, and if you covered this already, maybe we just need to hear it again, which is,
Sure.
What do you need to get a DUNS number?
Okay, so they're going to need to register their business. They'll need the EIN. They're going to need some vital information from their business, who's the CEO or president, contact information. But basically, if you'll remember, the DUNS is similar to like a credit score of your business. And so it is monitored by businesses for business. And reach out to Lee or BAM, depending on what part of the state you're in, and they will help you. They'll let you know exactly what you need to get that DUNS number. And my gentleman will even help you walk through getting it. You won't have to do it on your own.
Excellent. Well, that was a lot of questions. Looks like we got through about 18 questions. So well done, Lori. Right now, there are no more coming in. Is there anything, any last words that you want to leave the folks with in terms of, understanding government contracting?
I think the hardest aspect of government contracting is being told no multiple times. And so you've got to remember to be thick-skinned. You have to be willing to be persistent. You obviously wouldn't be where you are as a business owner today if you had been told no and quit. So to do government contracting, it's like working with a real finicky customer at first. But once you get in and you have a great reputation, they literally will beg you to serve them. So I really encourage you to tackle it, go for it, really put somebody in charge of who is a good writer to do your solicitations. Make sure that you have someone who can be articulate in what your company will offer to answer for their bids, and then do exactly what you say you're going to do or better, and you'll be very successful in government contracting.
Great. I'm going to also chat in for everybody the upcoming trainings that are happening at the SBDC. So if you go to the link that I'm chatting in to everyone, you can see there's some upcoming webinars. I do want to plug that we have one on negotiating a commercial lease. So in these COVID-19 times, we are hearing from businesses that they have to renegotiate their lease for many different reasons. And so we're going to have a session on what that means for the person who's renting or who's in a contract to buy, or the landlords as well. So we're going to have a well-rounded conversation about that with experts. That's coming up in just a week. That'll be next week. And I want to give another plug for the webinar that's coming up tomorrow from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. on CMCC, whatever that means. It's really important.
CMMC.
there's a link for that. So take advantage of another great webinar from the PTAC folks. And lastly, we launched the poll. And so this is just, if you have a second, go ahead and fill out that poll. It's just a quality poll for us to see how we're doing and see what you're working on in your business. As you finish that, I just want to say thanks again to Lori for taking the time to go through this, what can be a really complicated and a kind of daunting idea to start contracting with the federal government. And it's really nice to know there are resources out there that, yes, it takes a little bit of work, but it can pay off in the end. and that there are folks like you and your team out there to help Idaho businesses walk through that process.
Thank you, Will. I really appreciate that. You know, I'm going to say one other thing because I saw another question hit, and it was asked by Dave, what is the actual time frame from starting experience and connections to getting your first contract? And I told him I would tell him a quick story. When I first came into PTAC, I found that the process is pretty daunting. It seemed overwhelming because I didn't understand it. But Lee had a customer that literally jumped right in. Her first proposaler that she put out, she was able to literally land a contract, and she had not done anything prior. So that's one of those situations where she had a unique service, which had to do with security cameras. And she was able to get her immediate first contract. Then she turned around and got a second one. I think she wrote for a third one and did not get it, but she has since gone on and continued to get contracts. So she did that in probably a 6-week time period, 6 to 8 weeks. So she's one of our fastest ones. It typically, you can count on about 4 months, 3-4 months, sometimes longer, and you can count on a couple of rejections. But every time they reject you, if you will set an appointment within those first 3 days of that rejection, they will literally talk to you and tell you exactly why your contract was denied. You cannot go wrong if you're given information that lets you grow for the next time. So if you can handle the feedback, it is definitely worth your time to find out why they did not choose you so that the next time you can be chosen. Thank you, guys.
Awesome. What a great way to end. Thanks. Thank you, Lori. Again, thanks everybody for tuning into this webinar. We will send out a recording of this afterwards. So keep an eye out in your inbox and you can review this information on demand as you need it. I encourage anybody who's interested to contact Idaho PTAC or the Idaho SBDC. We are very well connected organizations, so we can make sure that you get the information that you need. So thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you at the next one.